Hello, this is Gracie from Small Worlds Big Adventures, building community through gaming, and today we are going to do a setup and walkthrough of my father's work. This is one of our favorite games, and we are so excited to show you it. Right now you're seeing Scott pull out the components. Just as a heads up, we did do the Kickstarter for this, so some of our stuff is a little fancier than you might find. And as always, we'll link where you can get the game below, and we will have a quick play instruction sheet that you can download for free to help you onboard new players. As a reminder, this is not a replacement for the instructions. Somebody does have to read these, but gives your players just enough information to get them playing in a rather quick mode. The first thing you do is set up the board. The board comes in a total of 5 pieces. There's these 4 quadrants. The big gappy thing is at the bottom of the board. And then that little line crevice is the top. And you'll see here, he puts in a little track at the bottom. You want to make sure you start with the 1, 2. Eventually you flip this over. Now the game comes with 3 storylines: the cost of disease, fear of the unknown, and time of war. And depending on which story you choose, depends on how you set up the main map. As you can see, Scott here is flipping to the page. Now he finds the correct page by finding the page that has the right symbol and page number for the story. So as you see here, our symbol is a sun with a number 1. Now on the bottom of the box is the symbol. It is so hard to see. You'll be able to see it in person. Next, you're going to find these 2 tokens. One is a flame with a pitchfork. The other is a pink with a little like triangle symbol. The pink one represents as the furthest right that the flame token can go. And the flame token represents the angry mob. Now, where these are placed will be determined on your story and will be outlined in the book. Next, you are going to find these square tokens. Some have a 1 and a 2 on them, and the other have a 3. For right now, the 3 goes in the box, and the 1 and 2s get mixed up and placed on the board. These are the building tokens. Once they are mixed, the mixed up pile goes at the top right in that square symbol, and then you'll flip over the top 4, and this becomes a little shop for your players to buy from. Next, you'll find these small purple cards, which are the compulsion cards, and these bigger blue cards, which are the maladjustment cards. You're going to mix them and put them next to the board. Then grab your rack of experiments A, B, and C, making sure each of them is mixed. After that, you will find the vanity buildings and get them all sorted by the type and stack them also off to the side of the board. Next, you're going to find the generation and round tokens, and then you will place them on the generation track at the 1 and the early for the round. These will help you keep track of which generation and round you're in. Then lastly, we will place the resource tray off to the side. Now that our main board is all set up, let's get our player set up. So each player gets one of these boards, and it represents their estate. They also get this player card that helps them know the symbols, turn sequence, and all of that. Next, each player gets a storage shed building to start off with. And each of your buildings will have a special little thing that will allow you to get a resource or some other item. Now each player will get to pick what color they want to be, and we'll get 6 figures. I'm going to be white and Scott is going to be red for this, but there is also purple and black. Each player gets a yay nay token, and you place that in their house. They get a victory point token should you get enough that when you go around the track you need to signify. They'll have 3 figures. Everyone's look different, but they will be the color of your player. And then those figures go here to keep track of your knowledge. Each player will have a little Frankenstein marker and an insanity marker, and those will get placed on the appropriate tracks. So Frankenstein goes on the creepy track, and the broken brain goes on the insanity track. You have this little Tesla coil icon that goes over on the victory point track, so that as you get victory points during the game, it shows you where you are. Each player will have 6 rings that will indicate the different types of roles. The 2 circles and 1 square go on the board to the lost, and then another square, the hexagon, and the kind of bumpy circle stay on your board. You have 6 characters to choose from, and you can determine which ones you want to use, but you'll pick 1 to represent yourself and put it in the hexagon, 1 to represent your spouse and put it in the bumpy circle, and 1 to represent your caretaker. And all of those go into your estate. Now you'll take the father's work cards and you'll shuffle them and give 1 to each player. And these are iconic experiments, from Frankenstein's monster to a time machine, and they're just really fun. Once each person is given their experiment, take the rest of the cards and set them aside. You will not need them any longer. Next, you'll give the first player token to who gets it. And this varies depending on the story and how many players you have. So listen to the instructions to know for sure. We have done board setup, player setup, and now it is time for start of generation. At the start of generation, each player draws an A, B, and C level experiment and places them to the side of their board. Once they have done that, they will decide, based on their cards, a resource that they want. I'm taking a beastie. What allows you to do this is that storage shed. You get to pick 1 resource at the start of each generation. Now, as a reminder, all the starter generation, starter round stuff is listed on that player card. Once you've done starter generation, you go straight into starter round. Each player gets 3 coins, and they can pick an experiment card of their choice, A, B, or C. As a player, you have 3 characters. Yourself, which is on a hexagon base. You can go both to town or do actions in your estate. You also have a caretaker on a square base. Your caretaker is not going to leave your estate ever. And then you have a spouse. They're on a circle base with some bumps, and they can only go to town, with a couple exceptions. Now, on your turn, one of the things you can do is get a resource. To do that, you would take your spouse or yourself, or a servant eventually, and place them in town on whatever resource you wanted. Here, I'm getting a potion, or more specifically, my spouse is getting a potion. Now, if I go to town on my little hexagon base, I will actually get 2 potions. As the main character, I get to do each location twice. Now, if someone is at a spot that I want to use, I can still go there, but in order to go there, I have to pay a coin for each person that's there. This means you may want to be strategic about where you go. Now, if my hexagon person goes there, I don't have to pay the coin, and I will still get 2 gears. Another action you can take is to gain money at the village if there's a location. To do that, you would just place your character down and gain however much money they offer there. In this case, 2 coins. You can also add on to your estate by building different rooms and or structures. To do that, you would just go to the builder's office and then pay the coins for the building that you choose. Now, once you have your building, you can place it in your estate. You place it from left to right. But as you build more buildings, there may be an additional cost you have to pay. Now, if you don't want to pay that fee or you just don't like a building you have, you can always just replace an existing structure rather than building in a new square. Some maps will have places where you can get additional servants and or caretakers. On this map, we have 2 locations that do that. We have one where you can pay infinite money to get infinite servants, but you only have 2 extra servants you can get. So for 2 coins, you can get both of your servants and you can put them into your estate. Now on this map, there's also a place where you can get an additional caretaker. And again, for that one, you would pay a coin to get your extra caretaker. In general, you want to pick these up because more people in your estate means more turns per round. Now, sometimes on the map, there will be places where you can gain knowledge. On this one, we have a library where we can choose either a chemistry, biology, or engineering knowledge. And to do that, we just go to the location and get whichever color we prefer. Or we can go to the tavern and get occult knowledge. Now, for these locations, they both add a creepy factor. If you gain a creepy for doing something like gaining knowledge, you move your marker to the right along the track. Now, if you go to the cemetery, you're going to gain a dead body, which can be very useful with your experiments, but you're also going to increase your creepy and move the angry mob token. Why this matters is because if you are ever overtaken by the angry mob, meaning the angry mob's on the same space or further left than you, then you cannot go to town. You are too creepy and people will come after you. There are a couple places in town that can help fix your reputation, if you will. And those places will do 1 or 2 things. In this map, if you go to Town Hall, it will move the angry mob further to the right. Or if you go to the church, you can pay to decrease your creepy. So in this case, I can pay 2 coins and become 3 less creepy. Now that we've explored all the actions you can take in town, there's actions you can take in your estate. Again, only you and your caretaker can do items in your estate. One of the things you can do is complete an experiment. In this case, this experiment requires 1 chemical. I pay that cost, and then I will consider having a completed A and 2 blue knowledge cubes. I can gain those and then put my experiment into my completed section. Now I can also go and do estate affairs. In this action, I can either gain a coin or I can draw 3 experiment cards, and they can be A, B, C, A, B, B, C, whatever 3 combinations. And then I can look at them and I will get to choose which one to keep. And then put the rest back on the bottom. Lastly, you can record knowledge in your estate. This is very, very important. From generation to generation, you'll lose most, if not all, of your resources. But by using recording knowledge, you'll start with knowledge cubes and potentially other benefits. To record knowledge, you need to have enough cubes to move your figure across the way. The first notch is 1 knowledge cube, the second is 2, and the third is 3 knowledge cubes. So you have to have those to record the knowledge. If you record occult knowledge, there is likely going to be a negative. For the first one, you're going to gain a creepy at the start of the generation. Second one, you're going to move the angry mob at the start of generation. And for the final rows in each one, there you get a vanity building. One of the ones to maybe bump up first is biology, because you get to store 2 extra resources between generations, which is really helpful. Now, I know I said servants and spouses can't do anything in the estate. It's a little bit of a lie. They can complete experiments together, but if they do that, you'll lose them. Think of it as they went crazy and you can't use them to play any further. You can also send one spouse or servant to record knowledge. But again, if you do that, you will lose them. These are good end of generation things to do, but because at the start of the generation, you'll get them right back. And by them, I mean your spouse. Also, when you record knowledge, you have the choice to get rid of as many cards as you submitted knowledge cubes. So in this case, I would be getting rid of 2 cards to choose 2 new cards. And again, it could be 2 Bs, an A and a C, any combination that makes sense for what you need. An important thing to note when you're completing experiments is for a level A experiment, you just need the ingredients. But to complete a level B experiment, you need to have completed a level A and have the different ingredients. And for a level C experiment, you need a level A, 2 level Bs, and the ingredients. And then to complete your father's work, you need to have completed an A, 2 Bs, 3 Cs, and have all the ingredients. You may also notice that at the bottom of some of the cards, it will have a variety of victory points. The earlier you complete this in a generation, the more points you will get. So you may find for some experiments that they require knowledge cubes. Now, it is great if you have the knowledge cubes you need, but it's important to remember occult can be considered a wild card. So in this case, I could submit a green and a black cube to meet the requirements. But every time you submit an occult cube and use it, you go a little bit more insane. Also, sometimes the rewards of an experiment are actually penalties, like this one, which makes you go a little more insane and a little more creepy. Now, when you're dealing with the insanity track, for each insanity movement you go, there is a consequence. So for this one, you gain a compulsion card. These actually aren't awful. They're like mini objectives that will gain you victory points. So for this one, you must upgrade your estate and get 2 victory points. Now the downside is if you're not able to do those tasks, and you have for every 2 at the end of a generation, those will give you what is called a maladjustment. And maladjustments are disadvantages that can make your next generation a little tricky. So if I ended this generation with these 2 compulsions, I would trade them in and get this maladjustment. Oof, and it is a nasty one. You must send your spouse along with another worker to take actions, which essentially cuts your ability to have turns down. Now, as you continue down the track, you could gain creepy or eventually lose your spouse. What happens then is you put them here, and then at the end of that round, they go to the lost. And hopefully there's a way for you to get them back the next round. Now, an excellent resource is the My Father's Work app. It is free, and they did a wonderful job of making this. It reads to you, it walks you through each step, and with the complexity of the storylines, it can really help to have this walking you through. So I do recommend you download it and actually use it on a tablet. It's a little easier to both read and maneuver. The winner of the game is the person who gets the most victory points. You get that by completing experiments or other tasks that happen in the story. So have fun with it. The game can vary greatly from game to game, even if you use the same storyline. So it is definitely a new experience each time you play it. As a reminder, we will have a quick play instruction sheet for free download below. And next week, we'll be posting our review and thoughts of this game. If you have any questions about gameplay, feel free to pop them down in the comments. And if you found this helpful, please hit like and subscribe. We're so excited to have you guys playing along with us.